Okay, here we are, Sunday. How about that? Sunday morning, 11:03 a.m. Yep. And there was so much news a few days ago that it's hard to... I couldn't finish it all yesterday. So I thought I'd just, take a look at today and add some words of wisdom. It's the 25th, Sunday, August 25th. Whew. 30 days, half September, April, June, and November. August, it's got 31 days, it must be. Okay, 6 and 5 is 30. 6 and 5 is 11. So you got 6 more days of August. How about that for some computational skills? All right. So let's look at Jimmy's. My average pulse is 78 beats per minute. The instantaneous reading, 78 beats per minute. You see that right there? SpO2, that's the my oxygen level in my bloodstream. How about that? Is that amazing? My trusty old Apple Watch manages to keep an eye on that. There we go. Now we are side by side. I've gotten used to. I've gotten used to switch cameras. Bingo. There you go. Of having that stuff on the left and Jimmy over here on the right. Everything is meant by that being on the right. In every possible way, but particularly on this video, because I can shake this and you can see it shakes. Oxygen level is managed, and my beats per minute, and all this vital statistical information is on my trusty Apple Watch here. I have my light turned up to nuclear blast. Let's turn that. My camera's extremely sensitive to light. We don't want to strain the sensors. It doesn't have a retina. It's got sensor. It's got an unbelievable sensor in there. I think it's a Sony sensor. Sony makes incredible electronic devices that's inside lots of things that don't necessarily have Sony branded on the outside. They make image sensors for, hundreds of different companies, including the company that makes this camera. This is a fixed focus, manual focus, I think is a better terminology. Yeah. So I turn it this way to get close, I think. Yeah, see that? You can see my silver dollar in there. All right, so we're going to manually focus back out so we can see my devices and things. Yeah. Let me go full screen on this. Producers, go full screen on this so we can get the focus on the camera, right? Since Jimmy is playing with it. I'll stop that. Yeah, there we go. All right, there we are. I don't need my keyboard anymore, so I have this neat little black camouflagey thingy. It was like a silk bag. I put a piece of styrofoam material if you were going to ship something. So, yeah, we don't need to see the keyboard. So we'll just cover that up. The screen here is my production central. And then this little doodad here I'll add that. There we go. So now we can see. Switch the cameras again. Oh, darn it. So we just click this little button here. Swap cameras. Not necessarily cameras. This is going into the camera input. There's 3 plugs over here, which you can't see because this is blocking it. But there are 3 plugs over on the side of my computer. I can slide that over. You can see those 3 plugs. Well, I need like 4 or 5 plugs. I only have 3. So I had to get one of these devices that you can plug 4 or 5 things into that, and then you plug that into this. So if I pull this plug right here, we go dark. Transmission would continue, but there'd be no video signal. It'd be black. We're broadcasting here on YouTube Live. It's kind of like a test because I couldn't get YouTube Live to stay on, as a simulcast. So we're not simulcasting today, we're YouTubing it today. And tomorrow, since I saw, I came up with an error message like improper title to the, whatever that means. So I cleaned up the title, shortened it up a little bit. You can find it, by, Jim Wilson's video cast. You can see, you see the sign that's moving on the top. It says think. See you soon. Think. And then you got a lightning bolt, and then the message starts all over again. Well, what's in the beginning of that message? Right up to the word simultaneous. They're the key words to find my video broadcasts. There you go. Here it comes. See, welcome to Jim Wilson's live simulcast, broadcasting 3 social networks. Yep. Simultaneously. That is the search statistics that you could use to find all these broadcasts, on the internet, in the vast wisdom of the internet. And of course, the @ sign, FAU for you. You can see on the thing, @ FAU for you, which just went across there. You'll see it again. It repeats over and over and over again. Yeah. Just so you don't forget. Wing. There we go. It's amazing. All right. So, let's see. We went to Flanagan's. They were sitting there at our little space, watching Florida State get beaten at the last. It's a buzzer beater by the rambling wreck of Georgia Tech. There's Jimmy. That's alive. Well, we're both alive when this was taken. And of course, we can touch on that image. And go right here. All right. We can see exactly where that was taken. No, I don't want to copy the location. 3.5 megabyte image, 21 millimeters in focal length at f1.9, 7 megapixel image. Yep. JPEG. Saturday, August 24th. That's yesterday. At 12:16 p.m. So we're just every image that you take these days, digital image, has a tag like this saying where it was taken, when it was taken, how many pixels, what's the focal length. See here, ISO 640. I don't know. Yeah, you can see that. And I shared it with Marilyn Wilson. Yes, I did. I sent it to her. And then she sent it to all her friends. There you go. Live in color. I put my sunglasses on because she had her sunglasses on. We're all sunglassed. Yeah. I had a little skin cancer scare a couple days ago. And my cancer doctor sent it off to the laboratory. And then he sent it back to me and said, he texted me back. Can you imagine? The doctor's a personal friend. There we go. I'll show it to you. Of course you can. That's on my neck. Now he sewed it back up because he snipped off a piece, sent it to the laboratory. And then Dr. Gene Strasser, sends me a, let's brighten that up a little bit. Yeah, we go. There we go. Then we can see it. A little digital imaging right here in front of everybody. Yeah. Let's see. I got to press that. Then I press freeform. And then I come over here. And we come right there. We can kind of like zero in on this guy. Center it a little bit. There we go. That's live and in color, ugly. Okay, let's get rid of that. All right, so let's. Kennedy endorses Trump. Can you imagine? Excuse me. On the morning shows, they're interviewing Gen Zers, and there was a bunch of Gen Zers, and one-on-one interview with people, from the Fox and Friends Sunday, and it was interesting. I was not impressed with some of their answers. I mean, one guy was pretty cool. He said, I was a Kennedy guy, and I just can't support Kamala because we have no clue what she wants to do. She was part of the original administration, and if she wanted to do it, why didn't she convince Biden to do it 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, or 1 year ago? Why the heck are we? It's nuts. But, she's like running like she's not the incumbent. Of course she's the incumbent. And the guy that she's got as vice president is even more liberal than she is. So it makes her interesting bedfellows, so to speak. So this is the interesting chart I was kind of like getting pressed on yesterday because I was running out of time. Now this is the 2024 presidential preferences in background states. So we'll just take the first one. I'm going to reverse pinch so we can make that bigger and you can see it right. How about that? Isn't that cool? Live and in color. We lose the word presidential, but we know what it is. There we go. Presidential preferences in battleground states. Yeah. Real clear politics polling averages. Now, the nice thing about Real Clear Politics is they record the results of polling, all kinds of polling organizations, public and private. I don't know if there's any scrutiny given to the polling organizations, like this is a good one, this is a bad one, so we don't use bad ones. I don't think I don't think that's the way it is. I don't know exactly how it is. But they take. Let's just say they take them all, because I actually don't know if they deselect a polling organization because they don't do the work right or something. I don't think they do that. I think they just take the polling organization. They surveyed 1,000, people. They ask questions, they get answers. So averaging all those out over the last, 30 days, roughly. The top line, Arizona, 44% Trump. I'm rounding up or down, depending on whether it's 5 or more, I round up. Less than 5, I round down. That's my rounding algorithm in my little brain here. That's an algorithm. Okay, Trump, 44%. Harris, 45%. JFK, 6%. 5.8, we round up. Okay. So, because JFK and the Democrats have been fighting for, a year or so, the Biden administration, as soon as JFK said he's running, immediately the Democratic Party dispatched hundreds of lawyers all over the United States, packs of 2 or 3 in each state, to file, in federal court to take RFK Jr. off the ballot because he didn't qualify. He doesn't have enough of this, he doesn't have enough of that, whatever they can make up to convince a federal judge or a state judge, probably a state court, to take RFK Jr. off the ballot because he doesn't deserve to be on the ballot. Well, that's not exactly democracy. Who decides, what someone deserves or doesn't deserve to be on a ballot? I mean, but that's what they did all over the United States. In some cases, they won, which means they won. In other words, New York State just came out with a ruling, said, yep, off the ballot because he doesn't live in New York. Well, you can't live in 50 states. I mean, that's like a ridiculous reason. But that was their reason. You don't live in New York, you can't be on the ballot in New York. So you have to divide your candidate up into 50 pieces if every state decided you couldn't be on the ballot because you don't live there. Yeah. I mean, that's just... So that would go to, JFK had the time and the money. New York is a serious state. It's slightly smaller than Florida. I think they got 28 or 29 representatives. We have, I think, 30 because people from New York are moving to Florida. Oh, boy. Another topic for another day. But anyway, so, and RFK has been whining about this, correctly whining for it. What the heck? He's trying to get on the ballots. And democracy is democracy. Let the voters decide, whether my candidacy is valid or not. Not a bunch of lawyers in the back room of the Democratic Party, to make their favorite candidate not have any competition. I mean, that's essentially exactly what they were doing, trying to eliminate competition. Well, that's not democracy. Democracy means, you have competition. And that's how you have a winner and a loser. Communism is where you only have one person on the ballot. Oh, yeah, we have an election today, but there's only one person on the ballot. So you can either vote for that person or you don't vote for that person. But you don't have a choice to vote for anyone else. I mean, I think that's what the last Putin election was like. Or, gosh. Jeez. Anyway, so it's likely that a percentage... Now, I'm not a polling genius. I'm just a genius. No. But I am the knower of all things. Everyone knows that knows me. I am the knower of all things. And I am going to apply an algorithm to the Arizona RFK Jr., all those voters in Arizona. How are they going to fall? What's going to happen? Are they all going to stay home? I don't think so. Because RFK Jr. and Trump were hugging, at their last encounter, yesterday. Whoa. Yeah, I mean, this is right before the hug. They're shaking hands. There's fireworks. I mean, it was a pretty exciting, here's the original article I was reading. You got RFK, the growing possibility that RFK Jr. could drop out and endorse Trump. I mean, this is like 2 or 3 days before it actually happens. So this was like a Wednesday article. Unbelievable, huh? Jeez. Here's another article. All right. I'm streaming down here. I thought I had some pictures of... Excuse me while I page through all these. I guess that's it. I guess I didn't grab all the pictures because, bingo, we got that. The cover of the New York Post, owned by Jeff Bezos, by the way. It's not a Republican. It's not a conservative newspaper. It's a liberal newspaper, big-time liberal newspaper. It's a 26-page, kind of a newspaper booklet thing. It comes out, I think, every day. See, this is Saturday, August 24th. Mostly sunny in New York City. This is distributed all over New York City. Cost $2. Hey, read all about it. You got the newsboys walking around handing out papers, getting $2. Maybe they get 3, maybe they get 5. People walk by and give them money for the newspapers. Or you can, I think, $12 a month. You can have digital distribution of their daily publication. It's interesting. They have writers and, it's a big, they have a circulation of 20 or 30 million, maybe more. God knows what the digital distribution is. Anyway, there's during Trump's rally in a suburb of Phoenix, Arizona, in a big, auditorium, setting like big basketball stadium, or a stadium for, rock concerts and all this. It's a completely enclosed stadium. Unbelievable. I think, yeah. It had a closed top. Yeah, it had a ceiling. But it holds 20,000 people at least. Let's just say 20,000. Maybe 30,000. We'll have to see what the maximum capacity is of that auditorium. We can do a little Google hunty-wunty on that. And find out, in Glendale or something. It was, some suburb of, I believe, Phoenix. Anyway, so JFK went on, was introduced by Trump. Very nice. Couldn't have been a more positive introduction. And I believe, and he's going to campaign with Trump all over the United States, effective immediately. So whenever Trump appears next, which is probably Monday or Tuesday, because every couple of days he's somewhere, and the Secret Service are running around trying to figure out how to protect him. So he publishes a private schedule and sends it to the Secret Service so they can protect him. And I believe RFK finally, the Harris administration put Secret Service protection on JFK. But I would imagine that Trump would put him in the cabinet. Why the heck not? You know, he believes in a lot of what Trump wants. You know, so you have people on the cabinet that have different points of views. You don't want to have people in the cabinet that that agree with everything that you say. They should agree with at least half of what you say. You know, different topics, of course. You know, whether it be immigration or, you know, medicines, you know, health services, you know, retirement services like Social Security. You know, where's my check? Oh, it's down here. Damn it. There it is. Remember this? No tax on tips. So I wrote that. It seems like I heard Trump say, write it on all your checks. Give the tip. In this case, I had a $49.70 bill, including tax, you know, state tax. We're in Florida. So, you know, that's a nice, you know, slightly, you know, it's like a 23% tip on the services, not the tax amount. You know, so the bill is like, you know, for $46. So $10 on 46 is, you know, it's an over 20% tip. Basically take the check amount and multiply it by 2, add a couple of dollars, and bingo, that's how I got $10. And I always round it so that the total amount is 50.00. I don't have any pennies. So that way when I look through all my checks, you know, when you look at your withdrawals on your account or your charges on your credit card, everything is rounded to the whole dollar. So if a number comes through there, you know, that isn't rounded to the whole dollar, it sticks out. And I can look at it and decide if that's fraudulent or not. You know, someone else charged on my account, because how many people on the planet round up to the nearest whole dollar? There are probably a few, you know, 1 out of 10,000, whatever. Anyway, at Flanagan's since 1959. Wow. 75 years or more. Sorry, Bob. This guy's parking in my parking spot all the time. I have a hard time. What do you call it? There you go. I stimulated. Hey Siri, stop. There, went away. 265. See, that's me parked there. I'm supposed to be parked here to see I'm plugged in. Because on the back of this column is a plug that the good doctor, my friend doctor, that lives 2 doors down from me. I'm at 812. He's a couple digits higher than 812 on the 8th floor. And this guy, that's supposed to be a 9 to 5 spot or 8 to 5 spot. He's been parked there for 3 weeks. The sticker on the front says he's from Coral Gables. I think I took a photo with his sticker. It's not shown here. No, that's me. I'm still here. Anyway, so getting back to good old JFK. You see that 5.8? So let's say out of that 6% rounding up, 2% of them stay home because they don't like either candidate. That's why they voted for or had a preference for RFK. And so 2% stay home and 3% go to Trump. Nobody goes to Harris. So when you add 3% to 44%, that's 47%. Harris is at 45%. Trump wins Arizona. He's probably going to get 4 of the 6%. 4 plus 44 is 48. 48 to 45, 48 to 46, 48 to 47, doesn't matter. Trump wins Arizona. Let's go to Nevada. That's not Nevada, it's Nevada. The next one on the list. 46%, 43%, 5%. Remember, I'm rounding. So if you take 46, and we've got 5, so let's say 3% of the 5% of RFK goes to Trump. 46, 47, 40. That brings him to 49%. Harris at 43, 44. Doesn't matter. 49 wins. Wisconsin. Now, 45 to 46, he's 1 point down, and 5% for RFK. So that is a tie. Without RFK could turn that into a win for Trump. So far we're 3 out of 3. Michigan, 43 to 46. That's a 3-point deficit in Michigan. Now, if Trump gets half of that 6% we see there, 43 to 46, 3 points down, he gets half of the 3. That makes it a tie. But if he gets 4% of the 6 instead of 3% of the 6, Trump wins Michigan. Pennsylvania, same way, becomes a toss-up. So he basically, with RFK, and depending on, how those two present themselves to the American public as a unity vote, not just to block Comrade Kamala, but as a viable addition to, Trump's a big thinker. It's okay for him to have people that don't think exactly the way he does. It's not an employed situation. It's, it's a consensus situation. It's not an employment, where you have to agree with the boss all the time or else you're somewhere else. It doesn't have to be that way. Anyway, how does that sound? That sounded pretty good, right? So you got these 7 swing states, with the RFK in there, it swings them. Look at North Carolina, 45, 45, and then 4.3%. If he gets 3 of the 4, he wins. It's a tie. Now, in the next week or so, next 10 days, when all this RFK Jr. and the Trump, swirls through the media, which is all weekend, all Saturday. I mean, to me, this is a monumental event. Now, it's not a lot of percents, Now, RFK, remember, attracted a certain amount of votes, basically being shut out of the media. They didn't interview him. They didn't talk to him because the media is 100% behind Harris. So you're not only running against Harris, Harris is not only Harris, but Harris has all the media. How terrible is that? What the hell kind of... That's... you'd say that has to change, but, we live in a... I guess you just need more conservative media channels, So you got NBC, CBS, ABC, and, conservative media, You need the CM channel, Crazy. Anyway, so this is exactly what everyone is talking about right now. And they're all using their, they're saying, well, a certain amount of people that would go over to Harris from RFK. I don't think there are a lot of them. The reason why RFK existed because they didn't like Trump or Harris. But they don't like Harris more. There's more dislike for Harris because with the little media attention that RFK got, RFK Jr., of course. Sorry, we'll just use the 3 initials. The little media attention that RFK got, he was making it really clear that the government that's in place right now, in which Harris is the vice president thereof, and Biden is the president, but he's on the beach. He's out of commission. He's spending time with his lawyers writing their pardons, because right after November 5th, and sometime before he leaves office in January, so you got November, December, he's gonna ink pardons for himself, his brother, his wife, even though she's not charged with anything now, but she might be. The Trump administration isn't going to do that, but, he just doesn't do that. He didn't charge Hillary, and she, flagrantly violated her server was subpoenaed. So she never produced it. And they subpoenaed all the cell phones. They smashed them all with hammers and poured acid all over them. So the phone, and then destroyed them. Even though there was a congressional subpoena out for all this evidence. So instead of Hillary turning it over, which was incriminating, of course, this is where you heard this, bleach bitted it. Bleach bit. That's a program you can buy, which you can install on your computer. And it bleach, like bleach takes the color out of all your clothing. Well, bleach bit takes all the bits and erases all the files. So none of the information on your hard drive is decipherable or, can be reverse bleached. Once that color is gone, it's gone. That's the name of bleach bit. And I'm sure they have a technology statement that's a little more specific than what I just said, but bleach bit, that's what she did. She did all this to all key evidence in whatever congressional, investigations are going on. She was Obama's Secretary of State, if I remember correctly. And, Hillary's a smart lady. I disagree with almost everything that she says or thinks, but she's a smart one. I think she graduated from Yale. I don't know if she graduated with honors, doesn't matter. Graduating from Yale is serious, Yale Law School. Ivy League, Harvard, Princeton, Yale. Those are the 3 big. Stanford. You probably should have 4 in there. Maybe 5. Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Stanford, MIT. Massachusetts Institute of Technology. My friends tell me that the undergraduate getting into Harvard, for example, is very difficult as an undergraduate. You got to have if the SAT score, if the maximum is 1,600, you better be 1,550 on your SAT, or else you ain't getting in Harvard. Because they only have so many seats, and all over the country, there are a lot of smart cookies. Unless you have some other attribute, like you're a Native American Indian, or you have some other kind of ethnicity that Harvard wants in their student body. That's not WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. If you're one of those, you need a 1,600 on your SAT instead of a 1,525. I scored 1410, by the way. In case which is, I'm told above average, but I think 850 or 900 is average. I got 1410 on my GREs, my graduate record exams in college, I should say. The GREs are the functional equivalent of an SAT for all your college students that graduate. During that week after before graduation, there's a lull period, where they add up all your scores and come out with your final grades, and whether you graduated or didn't graduate. GRE, graduate record exam. That's, I think it's produced in Evans, Illinois. Probably the same company that produces the SAT. When I was a young teacher teaching math in Florida, Bill Blattner. Bill Blattner was an SAT question author. They had people all over the country that were authors of the SAT, would you believe, or GREs. That institution that created these tests had people spread out around the country. Not everybody, but, like 20, 30, or 50 people that wrote questions and answers, and they were tested in a local market. And Bill Blattner said, "Hey, Jimmy, he was like 50-something, and I'm like 20-something. And he says, Jimmy, why don't you would you sit down with me for 3 hours, one time a week, or maybe twice a week, I forget which. And I'm going to ask you to take some standardized testing, and I'm going to score it. I'll share with you, how you were doing, or how you did, to measure your basically your intelligence factor, not necessarily your knowledge factor, because that's not intelligence. If you just sit there and memorize something, that's not intelligence. But I want to measure intelligence, and you're a good sample. Would you do that? I said I would. He said, I'll cook for you a marvelous steak dinner once a week on Friday night. Friday night will be date night with Bill Blattner. I'm not gay. I'm not trying to do that. Nothing like that. And so I did that, for a whole year. And he gave me all kinds of questions and test answers. He'd test this kind of question, and he'd change the wording of it, and 2 weeks later I'd get a similar kind of a question, but he'd rewrite the questions and the answers so that the scoring would be a little more precise as to, that person's intelligence quotient, IQ. So he gave me a test, and then he gave me some testing in the subject area of my interest, science and technology kind of, oriented questions. Not rote information, but, I forget how he wrote the questions, but they were interesting, and I read the questions and I read all the answers and I picked, A, B, C, D, like 5 answers. So then after about 6 months of this, he said, every week for 6 months, he said, Jimmy, he said, you're a pretty smart cookie. He said, particularly he says you actually score off the charts in your area of interest. He said there's almost no one that's going to score higher than you. Very few. Just a 1/10 of 1% in the entire United States is in the level that you score in your area of interest. When we get outside of your area of interest, you're still way above average. He said, I've never had a subject like you before. You're really quite amazing. Well, thank you very much there. Can I have steak and potatoes instead of just steak? No, that's Bill Plattner. Yep. High school in Florida. In 1969, 70, somewhere in that zone. So, yes. So, yeah. Anyway, so I'm still interested in a lot of different topics. And no tax on tips. See that? He not only professes no tax on tips, he said write it on your checks. So that way, when the girls that served you and all kinds of other people in the establishment, because they go back through those checks, in this case, the $49.70, is rung through the register. But the tip line, just like on the check, is left blank because you select the tip amount. So I write on there $10.30 and it totals to $50 exactly. So they, at the end of the night, they go through the checks and one by one they go back into the register. And they're sequenced exactly how the bills are sequenced. And they put the $10.30 in there. And that way, the $50 rings through to my charge card. And then they'll see no tax on tips with an exclamation point. And that gets in their brain. So if everybody that, agrees with no tax on tips, they mean no income tax on tips. Why should you give $2, if you're in the 20% tax bracket? Why the hell should you give $2 to the United States government so they can go, give health care to the illegals? I mean, how nuts is that? I mean, I can't imagine, this election should be a landslide victory for Trump. Just because of the illegal alien and the fact that she wants to give health insurance to every one of them. Everybody in the United States should have access to health insurance. Really? Who the hell's going to pay for that? Me. All the people that actually pay taxes are going to have to pay for that. Something not right about that. That alone should turn off a lot of, Comrade Kamala leaning people. Now they either, so they may not vote for her. Now that doesn't mean they vote for Trump. That means they may sit home. And so what the hell, that I ain't voting for this in this election because I'm a Democrat and I can't stand her. And I'm sitting home. That's what people do. You rarely push them over to the other candidate. Those lines are drawn in the sand. So the people that get disenfranchised because they don't like what they hear out of the party, we have a two-party system, like it or not. And voting for a third-party candidate that has 4, 5, 6% backing is a waste of vote. Because, you're trying to either elect somebody or elect to somebody else. You got two choices. That's how our system works. So you have a whole primary system where they start off with each side, maybe 20 on a side, and it gets whittled down to one, and then that one person gets nominated, and then that one person faces the other party that goes through the same process, where they had 15 or 20 people that stood on the stage at the beginning of all the campaigning And it goes from 15 to 14 to 13 to 12, 11, 10, 9, and it comes back to 1. And that person then faces the other person in the other party. And that pyramid comes up to facing off with 2 people. And then the top of the pyramid is who wins that election. And that's how I think about it in my brain. You got 15 and 20 on this side, 15 and 20 on that side, and it all comes up over a period of months, 6 or 8 months, 9 months. And then you have one person facing the other. Well, if during the campaign you're listening to both sides argue back and forth, debate back and forth, whether all by themselves, speaking to the media, answering questions from the media, or a debate where they actually face each other, which at the Biden debate, it became very obvious that he was some stage a non-compos mentis. You're just not as sharp as you need to be, because you're electing a person to be on the top of the pyramid of a government that has over 1 million employees. Just think about it. There are over 1 million employees in the United States government. With the Secretary of Transportation, the Secretary of State. That's a huge number of employees, maybe 200,000 employees in the Secretary of State, because you got embassies all over the world. You got, a couple of big office buildings stuffed with Secretary of State people. I think it's around 200,000 people in Secretary of State. You can Google it. And if you come up with a different number, you can text me. 1 million employees, at least, in the United States government. Pentagon. God. There's 150,000 people just in that one building. The building goes, 4 stories above ground and like 5 stories below ground. The buildings they're a lot of them are subterranean, which means under the surface of the ground. Subterranean. Yep, how about that for a SAT word? Yeah. I think we looked at this one yesterday to try to figure out how much money is there. They all look like they're $100 bills. Yep. Now you notice they're like different colors because they're upside down, right side up, this way and this way. That's why they look a little different. So they put each little strap. You see that paper strap? So each strap. Now these are used $100 bills. They're not new ones. So they're each one's got a little bit of a wrinkle to it. Now the paper that they use doesn't it doesn't crinkle. Like a regular piece of paper. It has a lot of threading and stuff in it, so it kind of lays flat, even though it's been wrinkled a lot. And people, keep it folded in their wallets or something. It usually doesn't get totally, wrinkled up. And then the Fed takes them in and recycles them. But if you look at this, I think that's a strap of 100 hundreds. Well, 100 is 10,000. So let's count the different seams. They're all separately bound. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 10. And you can count them, you can just tell. Here you can look at the top edges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, there's. So if there's 10,000 in each little bundle, and then there's 10 of those. So what's 10 times 10,000? That's 100,000. So each master bundle, if you will, because they're strapped, and then they're bundled with, rubber bands and all that. So that's $100,000 block. So you can see $200,000 is, it's about this size. Yeah, you can just imagine what that's like. Anyway, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 400,000 right there. There's another 400,000. That's 800,000. That's $1 million. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is $1.4 million worth of money. That was probably confiscated by, the feds from the banditos. And they're ready to trade that money to go buy more drugs so they can distribute it to tiramisu. How about that? That looks pretty good. Let's do a little image editing on this. Yeah, we had that last night. Had a nice dinner with Bill Morris and his wife Elaine. I'm just going to brighten that up a little bit. Look at that. Now we can see the layers. Does that look good or what? It was marvelous. That's about how it looked right there. Let me go through here with the color and whiten up that plate, because that was on a white plate. It wasn't a color plate. It was a white plate. So we're going to move that warmth dial up a little bit. So that plate is white. There we go. So now we have a proper rendition of that. And we're going to go right here at brightness, and we're going to brighten it all up. There we go. Now we're done. That's tiramisu. Looks pretty good, doesn't it? It looks really good on live TV. That is, I forget. It's little balls stuffed with cream and, whipped cream and custard. Profiteroles, maybe? Yeah, that's probably what it is, profiteroles. Now that hasn't had any image editing either. Let's do a little fast work on that. We'll brighten it up a little bit. We'll come back here and add a little color. And because it looks a little more colory, let's go to the color temperature and make sure that plate is white. See, if you know something is white, let's get white. There you go. That's how it looked. And let's come over here to crop. And so I'm just gonna do like that, and then I'm going to do this. There we go. So you get, because we don't want that. We don't need the napkin. We want all profiteroles. So we do a little, little fancy dancy on that. There we go. No napkin. And we're gonna say done. There we go. Now we got profiteroles. Look at that. White plate. Beautiful cream. There's some kind of stuff that's sprinkled on top. That's sweet. Oh my God. It's a dessert for two. That was what Marilyn had for dinner. Looks like a hamburger, but it's I don't know what the heck it was. I'll have to ask her again. But we made it look pretty. It was just staring there, with the nice lighting, and I'd be, holy crap, gotta take a picture of that. There's another one. This needs some work. This one's good. This one not so good. What's wrong with this one? I don't know. Color temperature isn't right. So we go down here, color temperature. I teach digital photography at FAU. Yeah, there you go. We need a white plate. It's not complicated. I don't like the way the crop is either, actually. Right at the edge. Yeah. That's it. Let's hit freeform so we're not locked into a particular aspect ratio. Yeah, it'll come down. Yeah, that's how we fix this. We go up a little bit. Now that's a much better picture. Much fuller rendition of whatever that she ate. It's not a hamburger. It's a $30 dinner. But now that, I'm going to put a little heart on that. That's a good one. So this is just another view. Slightly different angle. I think I rotated the plate a little bit. But you see those little green doodads all the way around? Yeah, we rotated the plate. Because like the stuff on top, it has a slightly different angle. I like this one better because it's like down and you see more of the sauteed peppers on top with mozzarella cheese. And I don't know what this is. It's, like fancy schmied eggplant. Not for Jimmy. There's my doctor, says your pathology is okay. Thank you very much for letting me know. I mean, he sends me a text message. How many doctors send you a text message? But he's a friend. He's a doctor, but we served on the board of a bank for 12 years. So he got friendly. We're in good company with each other. Plus he takes care of my skin cancers. He's a world-renowned plastic surgeon. You get in a car accident, he'll put your face back together. Heaven forbid. Oh, gosh. How about that guy that was in a sailboat, supposedly an unsinkable sailboat, and they're picking up bodies from the sunken super yacht, deemed unsinkable by the ship's manufacturer. Well, they'll be sued to next Tuesday. And I think I have a picture of the European industrialist that's worth billions. He and his 18-year-old daughter are gone. There's a picture of the two of them right there. Tributes have been paid to 18-year-old daughter Hannah Lynch. So Mr. Lynch, in his luxury yacht called Baysian, Baysian, Baysian. Well, the Baysian went down. It's on the bottom of the sea, right just below Sicily. They got caught in a very unusual storm that was like a tornado, and it just slammed this thing down in the water and drowned. I think 5 or 6 people died, including Mike Lynch. The tech entrepreneur was recovered from inside the ship wreckage along with his 18-year-old daughter. Well, they're hugging whatever they were hugging drowned. Only takes about a minute to breathe the water, then you stop breathing. And your heart keeps beating, by the way. You die slowly. It takes a couple of minutes. In 50-degree water like that's in those seas, maybe 80 degrees on top, but underneath it's 50 degrees. Pure salt water. It's quite a preservative. Your heart keeps beating. And gradually, because there's no oxygen being delivered from your lungs, your lungs they're not expanding and contracting because there's no air. As soon as a little bit of water hits it, the lungs automatically stop. That's what drowning is. I was a lifeguard for 5 years or 7 years or whatever number of years. Not a lot of years, just my couple of years of high school and a couple of years in college. So, let's say 5 or 6 years I was a lifeguard. Saved, 20 or 30 people. But as soon as the water hits the lungs, you stop breathing. But that doesn't mean your heart stops beating. So your heart is circulating the blood around and around and around through your system. And gradually the organs deplete all the oxygen in the blood. And then organs, one by one, start dying off. Like your kidneys and your parts of your liver and, other parts of your tissue parts. The heart and the brain are last to die off, but they eventually die off. It actually takes 3 or 4 minutes. Just say 4 minutes on average, depending on the temperature of the water. If you're drowned in 86 degree water in your swimming pool in your backyard, you die faster because of high temperatures like 85 degree water, your 98 degree body, so 85 and 95 aren't that far apart. So with that warmth, the oxygen depletes quicker. So you may only last 3 minutes in warm water, but you could live 5 minutes. People have known to live 30 minutes underwater, drowning in, like if you fell overboard, in a cruise to Alaska, where the water temperature is 38 degrees, and you got big ice, big ice cubes hanging all over the water. You could live up to, people have known to live up to 30 minutes, totally drowned. Your body, immediately cools down, and you're almost like in a preservation kind of a situation. But in warm waters, 50 degree water, you got like 4 minutes. And enough of the organs die off where it's irreversible. And then eventually the heart, slows down eventually. When it stops, then that's, that's the end. Then your brain stops because it has no power. Power created by oxygen, delivered by the heart. Anyway, that's what happened to these people. So their brain is working, but they can't breathe. And I've never been drowned before, so I don't know what are you screaming inside? Yeah, help me, but you can't say help me because your lungs aren't working. So you just think about all these things, or you go into like a dream state, or your body automatically shuts your brain down, not off, just goes into standby. While hopefully someone starts to, like mouth to mouth to force you to breathe. And then you cough up the water, so you won't breathe because the water just starts to enter the lung and the lung stops. It's an autonomous system, they call it. Automatic system. Call it AI. Autonomic intelligence within your brain that stops the lungs from expanding and contracting as soon as water or something liquid gets in the way. And it just stops because it doesn't want to make it impossible to recover your lungs, I guess. So call it an algorithm. That's an algorithm. Your brain has an algorithm in there and says, when I sense water entering your lungs, I'm going to stop the expanding and contracting. We're going to automatically stop that. That's the beginning of death in a drowning victim. So So what does a lifeguard do, which I was for a number of years when I was young, is, you can press on the lungs and lift the arms and press on the lungs. But if you want to get them breathing fast, you open their mouth, make sure they haven't swallowed their tongue. So you pull out their tongue. Remember, they look like they're asleep, but they have a pulse. So that's why I said the heart keeps beating even though you're not breathing. That's the beginning of drowning, the future perfect tense of drowned. It's like a noun or a verb or an adjective, an adverb. It's not funny, but drowning. So you make sure their tongue is not all the way down in their throat, so you can do mouth to mouth, where you take breaths and then you hold the victim's nose, you hold the chin open, you put your mouth over their mouth, and you breathe in, and then you let go, then you pull your head away, breathe a couple times, put your mouth over theirs, and push air into their lungs. And then, by the time you do it the third time, they start coughing immediately. There's an algorithm that says, when I get any kind of air in there, even though it's mixed with water, I'm going to cough out the water. So they immediately start coughing. And they cough out all the water, and they're like choking, but they're unchoking, because remember, we pulled them out of the ocean or the pool or, the bathtub, whatever. And you do mouth to mouth. And after 3 or 4 of those, they start breathing. They start coughing out the water, whatever the blockage was. It's usually water. It stops your breathing. But if you force them to breathe, hold their nose, and you force air into their lungs by pushing air from your lungs into their lungs. That's called mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. You hold their chin open, make sure their tongue isn't in the way, they haven't swallowed their tongue into their throat, and then you hold their nose, because you want to push your air into that person's lungs. And after the third try, they start choking. They could start choking after the first one of those, depending on how much water got in their lungs. And they may cough, very abruptly for 30 seconds, trying to clear the lungs. So you turn them on the side, not flat on the back. You start off flat on the back. Well, once they start reviving, you turn them on the side so they can cough out the water. If you're on the beach, the salt water. The beach has an incline, head down, feet up, so that the water is going to come out of their throat. In case the water got deep in the lungs, you have the gravitational that way. That's what being a lifeguard is all about. And knowing how to swim and knowing how to rescue people that haven't drowned yet, but are violent. So you get close to them, but not too close. 2 arms distances. So it's like 7 or 8 feet away. You come, because they're going to want to grab you and around your neck, and then you're both drowned. That's happened. Because that's like a death grip, and that means you both die, because you can't get out of that grip. It's so severe. That's an algorithm where their body is trying to save itself, and it doesn't care about you, and they don't have enough forethought to think that if they stop you from swimming, since you can't swim, that's why you're drowning. So what you do is you do what they call a parry, P-A-R-R-Y, a parry move. Where you dive, you basically take yourself and you go underneath. And you go underneath them and then grab their legs by the knees and rotate them so that your front is parallel to their back, you know? So you're not front to front, you're front to their back. And then you climb up their body, essentially, arm over arm, to make sure they don't rotate around to you, because you don't want them, they're like a lobster. You don't want them to grab you. And then you put your arm over their neck, and you scoop right down, you know. Then you immediately start swimming them to shore, you know, with your legs in one arm, because the other arm is over their neck and down around their chest. So they can't grab you. And then you scream out instructions for them to stop struggling, you know, and you swim your brains out with your legs and one arm, and you pull yourself to shore. You may have to, you know, swim down the beach a little bit with carrying them like this. If you were capable of having a flotation device, you know, a lot of lifeguards, they have flotation device. They swim out with them, but sometimes you get disconnected from the flotation device, and you don't need it. You're young enough and strong enough to swim both of you to shore with one arm and two legs, and they're just wailing away. They eventually calm down once they realize you're saving them. and they can't get to you because you reach over their neck and around their chest, and you pulled them against you, so they're not going to rotate around to grab you. So their arms are flailing around while you're swimming ashore. Eventually they calm down, and then by the time you get them to the beach, they're calmed down enough where you can jointly walk up onto the sand and sit down and recover. Yep, that's lifeguarding at a beach. Yep, same techniques are used if it's in a swimming pool. Same thing. If they're wailing around in the deep end, you gotta approach them and then swim under their legs, grab their knees, rotate them around so that their back is to your front, and then you swim up their body while you're holding on, and you can, you know, like climb up their body in a sense, not pulling them underwater, but climbing up their body, and make sure they can't rotate around and get you, because if they grab you, you're both going to drown. Yep. You don't want to try that out. Anyway, because these two super wealthy billionaires, and the daughter, you know, an heiress to be, she's only 18, scholarly soul, going, you know, to, you know, the finest private universities in Europe, likely, or, you know, Harvard, Princeton, Yale, whatever. We haven't heard enough about her. But I understand she is scholarly and was at the top of her class. Sky-high intellectual ability. Friends have described her as a warm, beautiful soul, and her teachers said a sky-high intellectual ability. How about that? Mr. Lynch. Mike Lynch. In a supposedly an unsinkable sailboat. It's a tribute to them right now. All right, with that, I'm going to say goodbye. It's an hour and 20 minutes. Marilyn has returned from her efforts with son Brennan. And I'm going to check out. I have my cup of warm tea. I put 2 scoops of tea in one of those little strainer cups that goes in a K-cup. You know, we put a K-cup into the receptacle of a, single serve coffee maker. But you can, for $6 or so, I got this polyethylene thing that has an extremely fine strainer in it, in which you can put a couple of scoops of any kind of brand coffee you want that's ground coffee, or tea. So I decided to make hot tea this morning. It tastes marvelous. I put lots of half and half in there. I don't know if we can see inside this cup. Wow. Can we see it? Without me pouring it all over the place. Yeah. Just proving to you it's hot tea. It's good. It's a little less bitter than coffee. It tastes nice. I think I'll start drinking hot tea in the morning. Marilyn drinks iced tea. I'll drink hot tea. Yeah. You can make iced tea with it. You just make the tea. Don't put any cream in it or anything. Put it in a clean container like this, and then pour it over ice, and then pour that into a styrofoam cup or something. Really, you have iced tea. It brews in a couple of minutes, and the water forces through just like it would with ground coffee, but it's ground tea. And you pour it over ice, and you got iced tea. I do it in a bigger fashion because I put 3 scoops of tea in a stainless steel strainer, put that on top of a big pitcher, and I pour through 2 liters of boiling distilled water. It fills up that pitcher, and it sits there for 20 minutes, and they pull out the strainer with the tea in it, and that's how we make the iced tea. I let that cool down, put it in 3-liter bottles, 3 1-liter bottles, top it off with some boiling distilled water. So I got 3 liters of beautiful iced tea with 3 scoops of loose tea. All kinds of different flavors in there. It's really quite good, which is the same exact mix I use for this hot tea. Very nice. Okay, so with that, I'm going to say good evening. It's noon on Sunday, and I'm going to find out what's going on in the world of news, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Probably same time, same channel, 10:30 or so. So, be nice. And bye-bye.